Hey guys, tip number 12 is all about practices for helping us get a good night's sleep. So these are all things that I bring into my life. How do I fall asleep? How do I stay asleep? How do I get back to sleep if I wake up in the middle of the night? And how do I have a restful night's sleep? And so I'm sharing some of my favorite resources in the post, and also wanted to describe a few here. So, some of you know this, but I've had sleep issues in the past. I've struggled with sleep issues. About 7 years ago, there was this period of about 9 months where I was just walking around exhausted. I wasn't sleeping well. I didn't feel rested. And on a holistic level, it was really my yoga journey and a lot of mindset changes that brought me to healing very quickly. And I was able to get off of sleep medication and really transform my sleeping patterns. And here, I wanted to share some of the things that I do that help. So the first one is, I find that a lot of times if we struggle to fall asleep, it's because our mind is like super active and we're thinking and we're worrying and we're in the past and in the future. And I talk about this a lot. One of my favorite practices is to lower the awareness from our kind of mind area. Everything's our mind, but like from this area to another part of our body. And so what I'll do, some people focus on the breath. Sometimes for me, that's not enough stimulation to distract me from my mind. And so I might focus on my heart and I might say, what am I feeling? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling happy? What do I love? And like kind of stirring up feelings of love toward something. And it's still letting my mind focus on something. It's giving me something to kind of steer my attention. But when the attention comes out of like the head area and into the heart, it's much more restful. It's much more peaceful, and it enables us to like drift down to sleep a lot easier. So that's one technique I use. Sometimes if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'll use the legs up the wall or the legs up the headboard technique that I shared in a video a couple weeks ago. So just kind of getting my legs up, and that physical practice helps still my mind, and I can drift back asleep again. And then I had another one I wanted to share. If you're finding, I think a lot of people are finding that they're having weird dreams these days. And so one of my weird dreams was I was going through airports and staying at hotels and all of the things that I did in the height of the COVID-19 kind of spike. And I was having dreams that I didn't know how to get the virus off. I didn't feel capable. I didn't feel qualified. And I felt like I was putting myself at risk. And I had these, continuously for the first 2 weeks after I got back to the States. And then one day I said, you know what? I'm going to tell myself a new story. Because obviously like there's some underlying fear that's going on here. And I'm going to tell myself a new story. And so I said, self, and I don't know if I said this out loud or just in my head, like, you did a good job. It's been 2 weeks. You didn't catch COVID-19. You were successful. You practiced, proper hygiene. You got the virus off if it was on you, and you didn't come down with it. And so good job, self. You don't have to worry about that anymore. And from that moment on, I never had one of those dreams. And so that's my other story, is sometimes you have to tell yourself a new story in order to quiet the subconscious that starts to emerge when you're sleeping. And then just a couple more resources, if you're still watching, that I've put in the post itself. A practice called iRest Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is like a guided meditation that kind of, you can do it during the day to bring yourself in and out of awareness, but there's some that are specifically geared for sleep. And I have my favorite that I listen to often before I go to sleep, and that's an album you can get off of iTunes by Molly Birkholm. And there's also a YouTube video that I like that is mantras to listen to before sleep that are just so peaceful and so quiet. And sometimes I'll put them on as I drift off to sleep. I make sure that I don't let YouTube go to the next video after it's finished, or else I'll wake up to something else. But that's another one of my favorites. And so sleep is so, so, so important. And there's a lot of things that inhibit us from getting a good night's sleep. And so try some of these practices, see what works for you, because I just, really hope that you guys are getting good sleep. Take care.